Hello, welcome to another Gundam Operation 2 video. That is the GP00, 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 something like that. I'm gonna call it the GPO, and every now and then I might call it the Blossom as well, since that's its nickname, kind of like how you know the GPO one's like the Zoranthus, blah blah blah, all that good stuff, right? Can't pronounce that shit right now. It's late at night. But yeah, we have the GP00 Blossum here, and yeah, a lot of people were really clamoring for this suit for a while now, you know. People were wondering, when are we going to get the Blossom, when are we going to get the Blossom, you know. And I was kind of thinking about it, I was like, okay, well, the weapons don't really, it didn't seem like it had enough to really help it out at a cost like 550, so I kind of figured, I theorized that it might be at a lower cost, and hey, what do you know, it's 500, so, and hey, not only is it 500, it has a interesting kind of ability, you know, an interesting sub-weapon and skills, so we'll get into that when we get to that, and yeah, to start off here, I do have two matches here for you. They're both going to be on Arctic base. I believe they're both, one is going to be on each side of the map, you know, A side and B side, so you get to see the best of both sides here. And it's funny, I believe, actually no, they're both going to be in rating, I believe. I did play a bunch of quick match today, and a lot of it's supposed to be random, and then I continue playing impact site, so that's been very fun. But so I think one of these might be a quick match, but I think they're both rating. But yeah, now let's get right into the stats for the GP00 Blossum here. This is a 500 support. You have 15,000 health with 18 ballistic resistance and 20 beam resistance. You have 16 melee resistance, 30 range strength, 20 melee strength, 125 movement speed with 180 boost speed, 70 thruster gauge, and 57 turning speed. And for your slots here, you have 12 close, 11 mid, and 13 long range slots. Now, the thing that kind of jumps out to me immediately here is you have very almost average. Actually, no, I want to say that's probably around the average in terms of resistances. You know, 18 ballistic, 20 beam, 16 melee, around that 20 area. But you do have 15,000 health, and there's been a few moments where I kind of felt a little bit flimsy. I didn't realize that. I was like, oh hey, I'm almost dead. I didn't realize, like, oh, I kind of getting shot at by the entire enemy team, and yeah, you do have to watch out a little bit whenever. You know, if you want to build for resistances, that might be a good idea. For me, I kind of went for a general build, and that's the general build I kind of stuck with the entire time. I increased my my beam resistance to around like 25, 26, one of those. My melee resistance was actually, I believe, 31, and my range strength was increased to 49, I believe. And I believe I might have just a tad bit touched up my my thruster gauge as well to help out with that. But yeah, you do have pretty good part slots to kind of do whatever kind of build you want. Another build I've seen people do is just straight up just range build and just damage, like range and melee. I've also, I'm sorry about that. I've also seen a overheat build, since this weapon, this suit does have a lot of overheating parts, and its skill with the special sub weapon we'll get to, that is a overheat weapon, right? So you do. It would help out to put some overheating parts if you care about that. But yeah, speaking of the weapons, let's go into the primary weapons now. Starting off, you have the GP00 long-range beam rifle, which is 1,900 damage with 80% heat rate. There we go. With 500 range, and yeah, it's pretty much just a very basic stunning weapon. It's heat-based and not ammo-based. You shoot somebody, they get stunned. That's pretty much it. You just you pop them, and then you can do whatever you want afterwards. Follow up with your sub-weapons or go into your melee. It does have 500 range, which is pretty far, actually, for a weapon like this. So you can engage from a distance and, you know, poke at people. It does do pretty high damage. I've gotten consistently 2,000, 400, 500, which is pretty nice for that kind of thing, right? Your melee weapon, next up, it is the GP00 Beam Saber ×2, which is 2,100 damage, and I believe this suit has a pretty unique downswing. The downswing is a thrusting downswing. It slashes and then stabs. The second part of the downswing, which is the stab, it does have a really small hitbox when it comes to suits on the ground. You know, if you're fighting a gym style suit, depending on the the elevation that he's on, you might miss that, or you even will miss that. So do be very careful when you're going for that downswing. It does do some pretty good damage, and you know, to spoil a skill that you have, you know, we're not at the skills yet, but to spoil one of those, you do have balancers, which is, you know, pretty awesome for a support to have, and especially with a you know, already you have a basic stunning weapon. So you can just stun and go straight to your downswing. Since it's a thrusting downswing, it makes it easier. You don't have to get really close to people to do your melee. And I believe the neutral swing on this as well, since I forgot to mention that, that is a overhead swing. You know, you slam your beam sabers down, right, vertically. The side swings seem pretty typical for double beam sabers, right? But all right, now we're on to the secondary weapons, and starting off, you have the GP00 Vulcan, which is 100 damage, 60 rounds, 150 range. And these do have some benefits where it has a really fast firing rate, and it does have really good damage. You know, the base damage is 100, but the only downside is that it takes nearly all of the shots to get a stun. So if you're looking for a stun accumulation, this is not the weapon to do that with. You might have to combine it with your next sub-weapon, but yeah, it is pretty good for, again, finishing off low health enemies. Typical Vulcan stuff, you know, like you can shoot down pilots because, I mean, honestly, this is like a buzzsaw, so you're not going to miss the pilot if you're shooting directly at him, right? You don't have to space out your shots like some of the more slower firing Vulcans, right? No, you can just laser beam the poor motherfucker with this, right? So yeah, again, pretty nice damage and fire rate, so pretty good. Well, good in terms of that, right? The DPS. Next weapon here is the shoulder beam gun ×2, which is 125 damage per shot. You shoot both at the same time. You know, they're one on each shoulder, you know. You have 15% heat rate and 300 range. And yeah, to be honest, I don't use these too often unless I'm going to be popping my special skill. So, my special sub-weapon, which we'll get into last. It does, you know, fine damage. You know, if you're looking to finish off people that are really low, the stun accumulation is not that good either. You have to overheat it to not even get a stun, pretty much. It'll get it almost there. I would say like 70-75% there. And then I guess they want you to use your Vulcans afterwards, or maybe if you're teaming up with a teammate, you know, maybe they can do something to help get a stun with that. But yeah, not my favorite weapon, really. It becomes a lot better when you activate your special skill. But yeah, that leads us to our next sub-weapon, which is the GP00 LR Beam Rifle Discharge, which is 700 damage per tick with 100% heat rate, 500 range, and excuse me, you do have to charge this, by the way. This is a focus fire weapon, and the good news is that you can actually move, you can walk around and boost while charging it. You can't do it, you can't charge it while boosting, or you can't start charging it while boosting. You can only charge it and then start boosting, right? And yeah, you do have to stop the fire when you do use it, and yeah, it's a pretty short Droby beam, where I believe I gotten 4,500 damage consistently with it. Again, it has 500 range, pretty far range, and it does have a high amount of stun accumulation. I believe it takes 2 ticks inside the Droby to get a stun, so if you can clothesline somebody with that, you'll probably get a stun with it. Combine that with your stunning weapon, since that's also 500 range, and yeah, you can combo into that pretty easily, you know, and maybe if there's another teammate around, they can follow up with that as well, or whatever they have. And because it is a stun accumulation weapon, you can shoot this through teammates, technically. It won't stun them, and it won't heavy stagger them, anything like that. It won't do that. So yeah, pretty nice to use around teammates. Sorry about the change in the the audio here. I had to switch rooms real fast. But yeah, we're on to the next weapon here, and the special weapon that can go with the special skill here. And that is the MPIWS, which is 0 damage, 100% heat rate, and 450 range. And yeah, this is, you use it, and it's basically the spotting skill that the Isaac has with its Ewak head, right? Or, you know, like the jamming skills that the Bolonok and the Ewak Jagan have. However, this comes with a special skill that's also called the MPIWS, and what this does is that for 30 seconds, not only will you spot everybody for that long of a time, no matter who's in your in that 450 range. It's not only that, it will also boost your ranged weapons by 20% and increase your range weapons range by 100, I believe, 100. That is pretty insane. So that means your weapons will now shoot even farther and they'll do more damage. Essentially, you'll be doing almost like unicorn. Actually, I'm pretty sure you'll be doing unicorn damage at 500. And what I mean by that is that, like, my beam rifle, if you guys seen the testing video for this, my beam rifle, instead of doing 2,500, will now go over 3,000 damage, which is what the beam magnum does. And the Vulcans will do like 160, 70 damage. And we already mentioned it has a high rate of fire, and it already does like a high amount of damage already. Like, again, 100 and almost 200 damage with that high rate of a fire with 60 rounds. Yeah, you'll be melting people with that. The shoulder beam guns, I believe I was getting consistently 425 damage per shot. Pretty good for finishing up low health enemies, like I said. I don't think the stun accumulation changes at all. I think maybe for the shoulder cannon, since they do get a huge chunk of like a damage buildup, right? The Vulcans still feel pretty much the same. The stun accumulation is still, but you do get more range on all of your weapons and more damage, which is pretty gross. However, there is a caveat to this. When those 30 seconds are up, before that, I should also mention you do have precision analyst system, like every other suit that has a spotting tool. You'll also be doing an extra 3% damage, and so your teammates will be against people that are spotted. But yeah, the caveat to this suit, this ability though, and this sub-weapon, is that when those 30 seconds are up, your radar will actually jam. So you'll not be able to use your observational data link, so teammates will not be able to see the health of the enemies that you're seeing, which is unfortunate. And you will not be able to use your radar to see if there's any enemies around you. So obviously that can be a pretty bad downside if you're in a pretty hectic situation and you might not be aware that somebody's coming up behind you, you know? Or if you guys saw my match video with this suit, I didn't realize my teammates were getting ganged up on. I was like, oh, where are they at? I'm kind of just fighting this guy by myself. Oh shit, yeah, they're fighting people behind me, and I'm too busy fighting this guy to notice because my radar's down, right? So yeah, interesting skill, which will lead us to the rest of the skills now, which is radar level 3, scope level 3, data link, scouting device, which I believe you can see your radar while you're zoomed in. You have aerospace gimbal level 2, so you can tilt up and down further in space. You have force injectors, so you can boost back and forth rapidly. You do have balancers, like I said before. Really great to have on a support. Not a whole lot of supports get that nowadays. I say now, I think they kind of been a little bit more lenient with it, but it still feels like very special when a support does get it. You do have AMBAC level 2, waist cushioning level 2. I believe that's 15% off where your waist is, especially where that butt flap is. You do have back add-on buffer level 2 where your back is. That'll also be 15% less damage. And we just mentioned the MPIWS skill, and you do have precision analyst system where when suits are being spotted by your MPI ability or weapon, well, yeah, they'll take 3% more damage to go along with the already 20% more damage buff you got. And I believe your teammates will also do 3% more damage to enemies as well. So you can use that to kind of help lean a match to your favor. You'll technically be doing more damage than the enemy team, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the GP00 Blossum. And yeah, I gotta say, a pretty fun suit to play. I thought it was very, very basic at first. When I first tried it out, I was like, okay, yeah, it's got a beam rifle, melee, and the stun weapons are whatever, right? But kind of like the meat and gravy for this suit, the meat and potatoes, I should say, is that skill, the MPIWS. Again, you get a lot more damage with this, a lot more damage output, and a lot more range. You can mid-range with your Vulcans, which is insane. You get a ton more damage output. Because of those situations where, okay, I overheated my stunning rifle, or maybe there's an enemy low on health and I don't want to use my rifle, you know, I don't want to overheat it on to try and kill somebody that low. Well, hey, I can just use my Vulcans or my shoulder beams at range and just finish them off that way, which is pretty crazy to think about. And I forgot to mention that for the LR, the discharge beam rifle, the Jirobi beam, I mentioned how I did like 4,500 damage. Well, now I can go up to like 6,000 damage with that. You know, extra 2,000 damage. But yeah, that's going to lead into the pros and cons for this suit. Starting off with the cons, there's not a whole lot of cons. Of course, the first con is going to be very basic, which is that you are a support, you don't have a dodge roll, you don't have maneuver armor, so if you get caught lacking, well, yeah, you might be hurting afterwards, depending on the suit that attacked you, right? And of course, your resistances as well. The next con here is that you actually don't have a great stun accumulation. To be honest, it is not very good. You do have great, stun potential with your weapons. The stun accumulation on the Jirobi beam is pretty nice, but obviously that's not going to be something you'll be consistently using, like your Vulcans or your shoulder beam gun. And honestly, it feels pretty shitty to try and like stun somebody with those on their own. Not that great feeling, honestly. I think they should at least buff up the stun accumulation on the shoulder beam gun. I can be fine with the Vulcans not stunning, kind of be it's like a machine gun, or it's kind of be the high DPS thing, right? But I do feel like the shoulder beam guns should be a little bit more, have more stun accumulation. It can do some stun accumulation, but it won't. It's just not enough at all, right? You still have to shoot a good amount of your Vulcans to get a stun. So I do wish that was a little bit better, and because I mean, if a damage control suit walks up to you, yeah, you don't have a way to stun it, especially if they have like a maneuver armor combined with it. I say no way to stun it. You still have a stunning beam rifle. I guess that's why I had to add maneuver armor to that, right? So I guess like a raid, like the Bolanook, right? Bolanook's got maneuver armor and it has damage control, like level 3. So yeah, you're kind of boned if he's not stopping in front of you. Honestly, I feel like that should be it for the cons. There's not a whole lot of cons that kind of jump out to me, to be honest. And for the pros are that you do have a very okay, the con for the skill, the MPIWS, my bad. Yeah, whenever the 30 seconds are up, your radar does go away, and obviously not being able to see where your teammates are on a map or where the enemies are. It gets rid of the observational data links, and now your teammates won't be able to see the health, I believe. They won't be able to see the health of the enemies. So yeah, not very good if you're running out of that. So you have to be careful when you want to use the MPI. There we go. Jesus Christ, I'm about to say like Modern Warfare 2 or some shit like that. MW2. But yeah, now we're on to the pros. Again, you do have really good skills like the balancers. The MPIWS does increase your range and your damage of all your ranged weapons, which is really, really good, like, just doing like unicorn damage of 500 with the over 3,000 damage stunning weapon into your, let's say you want to go into your melee, yeah, and then you follow up with your Vulcans or maybe another 3,000 damage shot from your beam rifle. Yeah, you can output some pretty disgusting damage. Of course, just the ability to spot as well will help your teammates do a little bit more damage to enemies, and of course they'll see where the enemies are going to be as well and what kind of suits they're going to be. And this is not talked about a whole lot, but there's been a lot of times whenever either I'm playing with friends or they're playing with me whenever they're doing the spotting or I'm doing the spotting, and we're about to go around the corner, so we think it's going to be like, oh hey, this might be a support, I'm a raid, there's a support around the corner. Oh no, it turns out there's like a GP04, a unit 4 around the corner. Oh yeah, let's not go around the corner and potentially get our legs annihilated or our health annihilated by the unit 4 charging up its beam cannon, right? So there's little moments like that where the spotting does come really helpful, where your teammates will, if they're good at the game and they can recognize, or maybe they played it enough and they can recognize icons in this game, that will be very beneficial to them. And of course, since they are color-coded, if there's a raid and hey, they see where the support is, they don't have to look around as much, they can see exactly where the support's going to be, they can go right after the support. So yeah, pretty nice. I also mentioned I said that the skills really help out the weapons, but the weapons themselves, specifically the Vulcans, the long range beam rifle, and the Jirobi beam rifle version of it, they are pretty awesome. I say the Vulcans are awesome because that DPS is pretty good. The range, the initial range, and the no stun accumulation is pretty poor though, like I said. But But yeah, having balancers is also, I'm just going to give that like, that's like an automatically just like, yeah, you have balancers on a support, which is pretty nice. And it's a thrusting downswing as well, which is pretty good. Very easy to follow up after stuns, pretty much. And there might be one or two more pros I might be missing here, but for now, I think that's going to be it. And yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe if you want. I'd really appreciate it. And, you know, type up in the comment section how you feel about the GP00, the Blossum, whatever you want to call it. Do you like it? Do you hate it? And yeah, I think the suit's pretty fun. It's not going to be a suit I think I'll be consistently playing. There are plenty of 500 suits that I really do like playing, like the Zusa or the Jammer Fin. But this does have some pretty good utility. Like I said, the spotting for your teammates, and it does help you out as well in just dishing out damage. If you use those at the right moments, you will definitely be helping out your team. And it feels like it catches up pretty nicely with the generals at 500, you know, which is very much appreciated. You do have the ability to engage from a long distance, from mid-range, and you do have close-range engagements as well. So that's pretty nice. You know, that's what a lot of sports that's all they can really ask for, you know, just to be decently good, you know. I say decent. I think this is a little bit more than decent. But yeah, that's going to be it, and I will see you guys later. Bye.